Phatiswa, thank you indeed. Yes, the Zondo Commission of Inquiry into State Capture hearing today that the SABC is technically insolvent and that its employees are depressed every month because they don't know if they'll be paid. The CEO of the corporation, Madoda Mxakwe, said that when he took over, he had expected there would be a bailout from government for the corporation. Also today, the head of news and current affairs at the SABC, Phatiswa Magopeni, said that when she was appointed to the position, she found a newsroom on autopilot. Manqoba Mchunu was at the Zondo Commission for us today. Manqoba, good evening. Okay, what did the CEO, what did he actually say about the SABC's financial position?
Well, Stephen, to put it in his words, he says that, they inherited an organization that was really in ruins. So he says the situation at the SABC was so bad when they inherited it that, there was disregard of policies, there was also blatant maladministration and malfeasance at the time when he took over, of course, which he says is what landed the SABC where it is. There were contracts that were, given out irregularly. There were issues of, some of the deals or supply chain management issues that, didn't go through proper processes. So there were irregular appointments as well of people that were not competent, people that could not do the job. And so he says that he really found it in a big mess when he came here. And he says that, they've been trying. What has made the situation even worse is the current financial situation that the SABC finds itself in, which he says is really untenable. He says the SABC can only pay salaries, and after it pays its salaries, it simply cannot pay for anything else. He says that, despite having met all the conditions of the bailout, they still do not understand why it is that they have not received the bailout. And he asked the question that really, is it because we're not politically the right people to be doing this job? So those are some of his sentiments, but let's take a listen to what he had to say about the situation here.
We at a point where as a leader, you can only inspire and give hope to a certain level. But I'm reaching a point now where every single week, I actually have to ask key members of my team not to resign, precisely because of the precarious situation we find ourselves in. And I also cannot really give hope to the 5,000 employees of the SABC who keep every single day thinking something better is going to happen. I said to you earlier on, Chair, I feel, and that's how the three executives feel, and by the way, that's one of the reasons why we lost a key member of the executive team, the acting COO, is we feel as the team we are standing in the way of this bailout. And I do not know what will happen after this. But the truth of the matter is that we cannot continue the way things are. In the interest of the SABC, certain tough decisions need to be taken.
Sure, Manqoba, to read between the lines there's some political message there, I would think.
Well, of course, he's saying that, at this current point in time, they're not even sure whether, really is it a political issue that, that has landed them in the situation that they are, because he says that, we've met all the preconditions, we have done everything humanly possible to meet the requirements for this bailout, but even now we still do not have that. And really they held no punches when they were giving their testimony there about the current dire situation of the SABC.
Okay, then Phatiswa Magopeni, the head of news and current affairs, how did she describe the situation in the newsroom when she first arrived at the SABC?
Well, of course, the first thing that she says is that when I arrived at the SABC, I found the newsroom in a state of decay. She says the newsroom was simply subdued. People were walking on eggshells. No one wanted to take decisions. Nobody wanted to be, there was no system of accountability, if somebody does anything that goes against the editorial policy, there was no system of accountability. The institution, as she says, lacked leadership at the time. And of course she says that, journalists at the point in time, some of them were just simply doing their work, knowing that, they just, there would be interference in their work and things like that. And of course, but more than that, what she says was worrying is this fact or this point of interference, which she says even came from external sources. It used to come from political parties and even from the communications minister herself. Let's take a listen to what she had to say about one example of such interference.
There were times when you'd be sitting as a producer in the newsroom, in the control room, which is more like our cockpit, if you think about a plane. And these are the people who are responsible for taking news content to air, which is your broadcast, your live broadcast. So you are sitting there as a producer, and then comes a call. Ordinarily, calls that go to the control room are calls within the system in the newsroom. It's either the person who's sitting in the newsroom who's telling you that there's an update on a script or something else has been added to the bulletin. But these would be calls from external parties telling the producers not to put certain content on air or to change stories that are currently running.
And the reaction from the Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo to all of this, what did he say about it?
Well, I think, at some point, I think the Chief Justice just, seemed to be very, shocked by some of these things that he has heard. Of course, his question is, how has this situation been allowed to go and deteriorate to the point where it is now? Where was the oversight from Parliament? Where was the oversight from, the different departments that are supposed to be involved in this issue? So he says, it's really concerning and something needs to be done. Let's take a listen.
This is quite a serious situation. And something quite drastic needs to be done to try and make sure that the right decisions are made which would be in the interest of the institution. I can just say at this stage it's quite concerning, and I'm not sure exactly what, if anything, the Commission can do.
All right, the Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo there. Manqoba Mchunu, thanks very much indeed, do appreciate it. Stay with us, plenty more to come, more developments of course around the looting and violence. We've seen international reaction coming your way here on the Full View. Stay with us.